Hey, horror fans, welcome back to Jay vs. Horror and another episode of 90's Thriller Rewind. Today we're going to be talking about the 1990 film Pacific Heights. The film stars Melanie Griffith, Matthew Modine, and of course Michael Keaton. It was directed by John Schlesinger and written by Daniel Pine. Now, guys, this is one similar to like Blue Steel, where I remembered it being a lot better than it actually was. We start off with Carter Hayes, played by Michael Keaton, and he's in bed with a woman, played by Beverly D'Angelo, Miss Griswold. And he's suddenly attacked and beaten by two men, and after the men have left, he tells the girl that's with him, Anne, I believe is her name, the worst is over. So he was expecting this. So we see that from the beginning. And then the scene shifts to San Francisco, where an unmarried couple, Drake Goodman, played by Matthew Modine, and Patty Palmer, played by Melanie Griffith, they purchase this expensive house that's way outside their price range, but they feel like they can rent the first floor out. There's two apartments down there, and get their money back in the property if they invest in it a little bit. So they rent one of the building's apartments to the Watanabes, a kind Japanese couple, and soon afterwards Carter Hayes shows up, of course Michael Keaton, and he wants to view the remaining vacant unit, and immediately he wants to rent the place. He wants to move in, and he drives a nice car, and he's got a large amount of cash on him, but he won't do a credit check. He keeps being real shady about the credit check, and he convinces Drake, Matthew Modine, to waive the credit check in exchange for some references and an upfront payment of the first 6 months' rent. And he says he's going to pay him this by wire transfer. But the wire transfer never goes through, and Michael Keaton moves in and starts antagonizing the Watanabes and the owners of the apartment, and just being a general dick. I mean, it's more of an aggravation than anything. And so we see from inside the apartment. We don't get to see a lot of what Michael Keaton is actually doing in there, but we hear sounds of hammering and drilling, and he seems to really be going at something in there, right? Nobody can get him to answer the door, and so Drake finally tries to go in the apartment, and when he does, he finds out that Carter has even changed the locks. And so to try to get around this, Drake cuts off the electricity and heat to Carter's apartment. But Carter has done this before, and he knows what's going on, so he summons the police, who side with him and make Drake turn everything back on and tell him that he could most likely be sued by Carter for what he's done. So basically what we have here with Michael Keaton is he's like a professional homewrecker. He moves into an apartment, he tears the place apart, and never pays the rent. And the reason why he does this is he tries to bring the property value down, so then he can maybe buy the place from the people who he's renting it from for a much lower price than what it's worth, and then flip it. It's kind of like dirty real estate, you know. And so Drake and Patty hire a lawyer, played by Laurie Metcalf, and however the case gets thrown out because of Drake's actions, you know, turning off the electricity and the heat. So Carter's safe from eviction for the time being, and he decides that he's going to infest the house with cockroaches. So this is where the Watanabes have had enough, and they move out. And this pushes Drake and Patty further into debt. All the stress, this is kind of a cheap angle here they take. All the stress of everything that's happening in the finances and all that causes Drake to drink heavily, and then Patty has a miscarriage. She's carrying their child, and she has a miscarriage. Hayes even visits them at the hospital to offer his condolences. He visits their apartment to offer his condolences because, you know, he's setting them up. Drake, immediately attacks him like, I lost a child, and it's, mostly your fault. So he attacks him, and this was all a setup. Carter had called the police before he even went up there. And so he's now able to file a restraining order against Drake and, a civil lawsuit. And so now Drake is forced to leave the building. He cannot even be in the building anymore. And then, so that leaves Hayes there alone with Patty, and he starts harassing her. But what he's really trying to do is get Drake to come back to the building to violate the restraining order. And he succeeds in this. And when Drake comes over to check on Patty, Hayes shoots him, but he doesn't kill him, which is interesting because he plants a crowbar there so he won't have any criminal charges brought against him for shooting. But you'd think he would have killed him, right? But he didn't. But while Drake is in the hospital, the eviction finally goes through. They get Carter evicted, but by this time, he's disappeared. The apartment has been destroyed, stripped of everything, appliances, light fixtures, everything is gone, even the toilet. Patty finds an interesting clue here, though, an old photograph of Carter as a young boy, and it has this real name on the back of it. And so this is where it starts to, wrap up a little bit and get towards the end. Not a great movie, guys. I mean, it's a really bad movie, to be honest with you. I mean, I went back and watched it again, but remembering it like from when I was a kid, I remembered it being really good, and I don't know why. I think it's sad. Like Michael Keaton's had a couple movies like this where he was supposed to play the crazy guy. There's one with him and Andy Garcia in it, Extreme Measures or something like that. I can't remember, but. Yeah, he's had a couple movies where he was set to play the crazy guy, and then the movie just wasn't great. It didn't really give Michael Keaton a chance to explore how crazy he could actually get. He's more crazy in Batman as Bruce Wayne than he is in these movies. And the second one, now the one I was talking about with him and Andy Garcia, it's real bad because that one is just like they ham it up too much. They go like try to make him a Hannibal Lecter type character, and it doesn't work. I don't know. The writing is not great in these movies. Pacific Heights is out of its own era even. It's not a good film for this era because this is around the time where we're getting a lot of stuff like Sea of Love, Fatal Attraction. Almost everything that was a thriller at this point was a psychosexual thriller. And they tried to throw a little sex in this to sex it up, but it doesn't really pertain to the plot to any extent. And it doesn't help the film. It feels like a 40s movie and not even a thriller. Just like, maybe like if this was, Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum, maybe. I don't know. But it just doesn't work in this era. And the writing is just really bad. There's a lot of cliche scenes and stuff like that just don't go anywhere. So I'm going to give, upon rewatching, I'm going to give Pacific Heights, I'm going to give it 5.5 out of 10. I still think it has some interesting moments in it. It is interesting to see the way that things are broken down and explained about the renter's rights, and that. Here's the thing that's messed up about it, though. I mean, they have Michael Keaton as this bad guy, but how do they want him to play it? Do they want him to play it like a psycho or just like a criminal? Is he just a criminal? Who goes around committing crimes and, getting wealthy off of it or trying to. He just seems like a bad apple. He doesn't really seem like a crazy person. And, he never really takes that next step where you think, God, Michael Keaton's fucking nuts in this, So it doesn't work. He doesn't seem that intelligent either, really, because, he knows the laws, but it's just a weird character for him. It just doesn't work. I think it's the character. I don't think it would have worked for anyone the way it's written. It's just a mess, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm going to give it 5.5 out of 10. There was, like I said, a couple things I did like about it, and that's about all I can say about this one, guys. Wasn't my favorite. I'll put it like that. So next time on 90's Thriller Rewind, we're going to be talking about another movie from 1990, and I know everyone's seen this one. We're going to be talking about Misery, starring James Caan and Kathy Bates, of course, adapted from Stephen King's novel. Also, Richard Farnsworth, very good in that. So we're going to be talking about Misery next time on 90's Thriller Rewind. Guys, that's all we've got for today. And we'll talk to you the next time we got something worth talking about. Bye.